name?
I'm Chris.
Great. Or I'll do it. He's Chris.
And you're Dave.
Great. And this is Toast.
Two old skeletons talking.
And we are coming to you from where we always come to you from.
From Seattle.
Oh, okay. I was going to say New York, but okay, Seattle, sure.
Yeah.
And
right now we're just at the very end of 405, and we're going to change to whatever it is, 509, heading north. And that's about that.
Okay, so what's the topic today, Chris?
The topic today is siblings.
Siblings.
Yes.
Well, I've got them.
Yeah, me too.
Why don't you talk about your
I have one
sister?
sibling. I have one sibling who is my sister Jen, and she's 2 years younger than me. And the interesting thing about Jen for me is that when we were little, we moved around every 2 to 3 or 4 years. So actually, Jen and I were each other's best friends until we finally moved to Oregon when I was in 7th grade and she was 5th. So we were each other's like constants up until then. But she's incredibly bright, and we all kind of thought, well, why are you not doing something more with your career when she got out of college? Because for a while she just worked for the Forest Service. And
Oh, I remember that.
yeah, you know, and it was interesting, but it really didn't use her brain to the extent that it could be used. So eventually she went back to school and she got a degree in computer programming and went to work for Intel. And
Right.
she worked at Intel for I don't even know how many years, a ton of years, until she kind of retired. And she's thought about going back to work, but hasn't really
out of
needed.
boredom, or?
You know, boredom, and then you've got still having income. Because I think when she quit, she wasn't even 50 yet.
Yeah, too young to pull a retirement, probably.
Yeah. So that's kind of a lot about my sister in a nutshell. What about yours? Because you've got only brothers?
Yeah, I only have brothers. I have 3 brothers, no sisters. And we have sort of the same narrative. We moved every 2 to 3 years and lived all over the world. Most of my memories are from Japan because we got stuck there for 3.5 years, and so we were there for a while. That's the longest we kind of stayed anywhere. So those were kind of formative years. But yeah, so we were kind of stuck with each other's, being each other's friends too. But I think it kind of had the opposite effect. My family dynamic is weird, right? My mom was very sick the entire time we were growing up, and so, and I believe, as sexist as it may sound, that women are the glue that sort of holds families and groups together, right? If you just have a group of boys,
It gets feral.
it does. It totally does, right? So it just, it just wasn't quite that family-like dynamic. And I'd say we were pretty close growing up, but then after we left the nest, we all just kind of went our separate ways, and I really don't have very much interaction with them at all, But I also, they're still around. I haven't lost any brothers yet, and once I do, I'm sure I'll wish I had more contact with them. But the women in your lives, they always say, like, well, you should spend more time with your brothers, right? They're trying to always create family bonds, and I was just like,
and you haven't had that for 30 years.
Yeah, and I was just like, I don't feel the need. My oldest brother, Mike, tries to reach out, and he's a fixer. He's the kind of guy that just wants to fix things and fix
the relationships.
Fix relationships and bond, But the other thing is, I have a different personality than them. I'd say I'm radically different.
How so?
Well, my family dynamic is my dad's side of the family was very stoic and tall and sort of patient, mostly Polish people. And my mother's side of the family, my maternal side, were just hot-tempered, fiery, alcoholic, just passionate, angry people who are all dead now. Every last one of them is dead, right? There's not a single person on my mother's side of the family that's still alive.
I guess that's what angry alcoholism brings you.
Yeah. But also fun people. God, my dad's side of the family was just so fucking boring. I would hate going over to Easter dinners there because it's just not much of a sense of humor. And it's like being with the Amish, right? So now we're going to get letters. No. Anyway, so my brothers at least Paul and Mike take after my dad's side of the family, and I take after my mother's side of the family.
I
and
see.
So in that respect, I know I'm sort of an annoyance to them. In fact, when I went to my older brother's, not his last wedding, but the wedding before his last wedding, so he took me aside and said, I really want you to be on your good behavior. And this was just a few years ago. And I went, what? And he's like, well, sometimes your humor gets a little cutting and acerbic, and you sort of piss off your other brothers. And I would prefer that you just didn't do that, this time. And I was like, oh, wow. And again, I don't see myself as being sort of a wildly inappropriate person. It's just... it's not a thing that I hear a lot enough to go, wow, there's something wrong with my personality. It's just that I'm really radically different from them, right? Mm-hmm. And so my sense of humor is different, and they're fine people. I just don't think we really see things the same way. So,
right.
I appreciate my older brother, my older brother's sense of humor, Mike. His sense of humor is a lot like Bill Murray's, right? Very sort of dry, and he's very funny, and I don't know.
Yeah, because I've known you for basically 35 years, and I think I've met one of your brothers once.
Mike.
Yeah, something like that. And the thing is, Jen comes up and helps with Skeleton Theater, and we see her a fair amount. We see her at least.
But if she didn't, I would have only ever met her once or twice, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, we see her 2 or 3 or 4 times a year, and she lives in Portland, and I think most of your brothers are still within a half an hour.
No. Chris is in Portland. Paul's in Spokane.
Oh, okay, that's a commute.
Mike's close by, so.
All right. So not as close as I thought.
Yeah. And my brothers aren't smart enough to help us with anything. I know that's terrible. But
yeah, I'm sure they could.
Yeah, and they're good people. So, how was your relationship with Jen always good, though? I mean, there must have been a time that you guys...
Well, see, that's what I'm trying to think. Is there a time that... I don't think it was ever bad. It was just that for a while there, we didn't do a lot together. But I've always liked her, and I've always admired her. So I'll tell you about when she first went to college, right after high school. My dad thought that she should study Chinese. So
what? The what?
Yeah, because he was working for Intel, and he was sort of reading the writing on the wall, and he was saying China's going to become dramatically important to the West. So I think that it would serve you to know how to speak Chinese and how to work with that nation. So she went into this program that was high intensity learning Chinese and stuff like that. So a year of that is spent in China. So she goes to China, and somebody came to the school, somebody from a Chinese TV station, and said, we need somebody to co-host, a Western person to co-host with a Chinese person, this show that we're going to do that's stories from around the world. And she spoke really good Chinese, and she's not unattractive and young and fiery, so she did that. She was a TV host in China for like 7 or 8 months. Wow. And the funny thing was, she didn't realize this, the first 2 guys, but somebody came to her after a month and said, and how do you like your co-host? And she didn't like him. I don't remember why. For some reason, she didn't like him. And so she told him. So like the next week, that guy was gone, and there was another host. There was a new host.
Wow.
I know. So then after like a month, they were like, and how do you like this host? And she didn't like him for some reason.
No.
So she said,
gone.
well, no, I don't really like him. Next week, he's gone.
Oh my
so
God.
she went through 3 hosts, and she did not realize that she was having this effect. But eventually, she figured out what it meant when they said, and how are you getting along with your host?
Fine.
So she stopped complaining about them.
He's
because
fine. Please don't murder him.
Yeah, she didn't want to get anybody else fired. But yeah,
hilarious.
people would recognize her on the streets, and I don't remember now what her Chinese name was, but they'd be like, oh, whatever that name is, and then she would talk to them, and they'd get her autograph and stuff like that. But here's the thing: this is Well, shoot, I don't remember what the year is, but she spent 6 months in Beijing, and then the second 6 months she was supposed to spend in Fuzhou. And she was just about done with the stretch in Fuzhou when Tiananmen Square happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and my parents were very much, we need to get her out of China right now.
Right, yeah.
And I think they got her a ticket and got her out a little bit early, but she was almost there for her whole stretch. But they just did not like the mood of what was going on there, so they kind of thought she should probably come home. So she did.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we ended up finally, we got the tapes.
Oh, of her on TV?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's hilarious.
She went to her people and she said, I actually don't like me as a host. And she was gone the next week.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap that up, shall we?
Sure.
Those are our siblings.
Yeah,
So,
that's sibling stories.
all right. See you later.
All right, later. Hey, it's Chris. Thanks for watching our episode, everybody. We hope you liked it. And if you liked it, please subscribe. Also, if you'd like to see some outtakes and behind the scenes, you can support us and check them out at patreon.com/2oldskeletons. Thank you again. Be safe.